Hosted by Ed Steer and Dan Bolter, Life in Digital explores the ever-changing media landscape with today's industry leaders. Hello and welcome to a Life in Digital podcast special. I'm here with Alex Stil, Chief Commercial Officer at Verve. Alex, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's a new experience, so looking forward to it.
I know, as we've mentioned, I'm not sure when this goes out, but on a Monday morning, no less. So well done us.
With a good cup of coffee. Always works.
Exactly. Alex, it'd be great if you could start by telling me a bit about yourself and your time in kind of the digital advertising world and, of course, Verve too.
Sure. I've been in digital for a very long time. I'm this old guy, so it's good it's audio, so you don't see me. But
Okay.
I started in digital in 1996. At that time, at a creative agency, I wrote a thesis during my study around internet and marketing. That was still very new in the Netherlands. A creative agency, I won a award with it, saw it, offered me a job. So my first job was MD of a creative department, digital creative department in the basement, and that's sort of how I taught myself HTML and all that stuff. So it was really fun. So that was about 2 years. After that, I built websites, and we sort of discovered that, well, not discovered, but we call them C drive projects because no one was visiting those websites. So it's like, how do you do that? So that was where it actually started for me, starting to look at how do I drive traffic to websites, and then met someone, and before we knew it, we started our own business, which was in the Netherlands, the first online media agency. That sort of then 1998 to 2000, the world exploded, the dot-com hype. I was part of that lovely wave, grew the company all over the place, too fast with too much venture capital money. And with that had the lovely crash in 2000, where I had to reorganize the company and also close some. So did that up to 2006, 7, and then was approached by WPP, which you probably know. Group M acquired us in the Netherlands. I then became part of the Mindshare management team. And after 2 years, I was asked to become head of digital within Mindshare for the EMEA region. So that's how I started to get more into international. So left the Netherlands, did that in the end for 12 years post earnout. I always said I didn't make enough money, so I had to stay. But reality is, it was really fun. It's a great company, learned a lot, had different roles. First in Mindshare, was allowed to build the whole programmatic solutions there. And then as things evolved and were more centralized in Group M, I got different roles in Group M, from setting up a thing called M Platform, which was more around the data we had, and then consolidated everything, which is now Group M Nexus. I did basically the pre-work for that. That was a great journey, but I got to a point where I was like, okay, it's sort of enough. You've done multiple roles in the same company, and I had the opportunity to take some time off. So I decided it's good. I wanted to do startups. That was my plan. I did 1 or 2 consultancy projects for startups, went really well. And then I met the founder of Verve, Remco, had a coffee, as those things happen. We talked, and before we know it, it was a very good match. Started to work there, first of all, as a consultant. And then after a few months, we both agreed that it would be smart if I would come in full time and actually do what I advise. That's a nice thing, right? So normally consultants always do the advice and then run away. I'm making jokes here a little bit, but he said, okay, this is great advice, but come and do it now. And I was like, I like to doing more than the advising anyway. So last year, July, I joined as chief commercial, really bringing my advertising, my agency experience to the group. So I'm really responsible for building more the demand side. So really the relationships with the agencies and the brands across the globe. So that's what I'm doing now. Verve, I probably also need to talk a little bit about what is Verve. I would say Verve right now very strong in specific channels, and in sort of like mobile in-app is one of the leading in-app SSPs right now in the world. CTV also growing in some other channels. But basically what we're trying to do, and that's why I joined, is we really want to connect consumers with high impact environments, but then in a privacy safe way, and and really having the right impact. So we're really focusing on those areas that are new, idealist solutions. And that's one of the things that I ran into when I was in an agency. I saw the world changing, but the world
Yes.
didn't change as fast with me. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to be on the other side and help to create some of those solutions.
That's really exciting, and I've Joe, there's so many questions, and it's not for today, but Group M have been one of Sphere's
Yeah.
biggest customers for the whole period. So we were there
Oh,
right at the
really?
beginning, the Xaxis launch, the Finecast launch, and we made
Yeah.
across the
Yeah.
globe over 2,000 hires into teams that probably you know would have lots of shared stories around
All right, all
that.
right,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I'm not sure if I want to talk too much about GroupM today, but yeah, it's
No,
a great company. And to your point, some great brands were built. And yeah, I think as any wholeco, there's challenging times as well, also for them.
very much so, yeah. And not for today, but so yes. So what's really interesting is you must have such a amazing overview on what brands and agencies are going to get their best returns on when it comes to investing in digital advertising. So if you're looking at the next 12 months, where do you think is the smart place
Yeah.
to invest in advertising?
I think, well, first of all, the smart place is always to be there where the consumer is and where you can still reach them at a very cost efficient way. I think
Mm,
in the last few years, and let's be careful not to talk about AI all the time, but there's a lot of
yes,
changes with AI coming, um, not just around what it does for the media industry from a creative perspective, but also, for instance, how it influences consumer behavior. How, I don't know if you have the same, but a lot of people, you don't use Google search as you used to because you basically now have ChatGPT or others that can
yes,
give you answers, and then you maybe verify some of the things with search. With that, you see, of course, also change in consumer behavior. There's less web visitors because you don't need to go to a website anymore to get some answers. Um, I think those changes are going quite rapidly together also with, of course, the privacy discussions, the deprecation of the cookie, all of those things are having an impact. So if you would ask me where is the consumer and where should the money go, I think we'll see some money moving away from open web, also because publishers will have challenges to still have the amount of visitors they used to have. And it will move more to channels that are, I would say, privacy friendly or have the consumer in different ways. So, and again, also, of course, preaching a little bit for what we represent as a company, but I would say from an emerging channels, in-app is still very much growing and has great opportunities. It's a lot more brand safe, has opportunities now on the way we measure, how we use AI. So I think mobile, specifically in-app, and also the ad formats you can use there, is one of those where we see growth and where also our clients seeing growth. The other part is, of course, CTV.
mm,
All open doors, but growth in CTV, not in every market, to be honest, as well. I think in US exploded. If you look at UK, great opportunities, but some other markets, there's still some challenges on scale there as well. So I think if you look at where would money go more, we'll see in-app, we'll see CTV, digital out of home in many markets. Now it's becoming more programmatic, being able to use data in a different way. And last, I would say digital audio, just to make you happy, because I don't know how much you earn, but on a serious note, I think podcast and those things, again, from a contextual opportunity and also being there, I wouldn't say where the eyeballs are, but where the ears are, is still a very great opportunity. So with the changes in the industry, also how we see, I would say, ID advertising into ID-less advertising, where we need to find new ways of reaching consumers in a privacy-friendly way. For me, those four would be, basically the channels where we see a shift, and it's already happening, right? It's an easy prediction because I think it's already happening.
yeah, we've seen that, and I think about direction of travel over the last few years and the conversations we've had with customers at the events we attend, at the events we host, and on the podcast. There's some really interesting themes there. Just from a personal interest point of view, you mentioned the challenges with CTV in different countries. How will scale arrive in countries outside of the UK, US, and what needs to happen for brands to be able to reach their consumers at scale in a CTV environment in around Europe
Yeah,
and the rest of the world?
that's not an easy question. I think again, CTV has multiple areas.
And how
I
do you
think
classify it? Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And
like
I'll be careful there because I don't think the
YouTube.
industry officially, again, so you have the YouTube, we have, of course, like Disney and Netflix is that, and then
Yes,
we have other
streaming.
like
Yeah.
CTV channels. So with that, I think overall, of course, there's great opportunities, but I think there's still in different market, different needs. So one, if you go into markets where from a language perspective and local productions, there's still some challenges there. Is there enough content for those kind of channels? I think the other challenge we still have is not everyone is still, there's not all standards there. So the
Hmm.
ability to measure, how do we measure the quality of that? I think a lot of those things where I would say advertisers are used to certain ways of working. Traditionally, TV, we work with panels, we know this, but for CTV, like how do we do the forecasting? How do we do the targeting? How do we do the measurement? I think there's still some education to be done on all sides to make sure that everyone sees the true value, although it's growing. But there's an opportunity there. I think the growth will also come as new kind of ad formats will come. Um,
Okay.
as with every channel, it always is first a copy of another channel. I think the first TV ad was someone reading out loud a radio ad, and so you saw all of those things, right? And with that, I think CTV, the interactive opportunities, shoppable ads, ads that also drive performance, those things will evolve as devices will evolve, where it becomes easier to use your remote to do these things. I think there will be technology evolution there, and with that also creative evolution. And I think we're really at the beginning of the creative components, what we can do with CTV. The other part there is around targeting. As we with CTV again, what kind of data is available? I don't think we'll be fully reliant and in the future on household data, but we'll start to look at more contextual data. What kind of behavior can be measured? That's also different by country, what is measured, because again, it has to do with legislation. So I think there's a lot of that too. So talk about the creative component, there's standardization needed that makes it easy. There's a knowledge component. And again, for certain markets, sometimes there is not enough inventory yet as well, but that's more in the smaller markets.
Yes, and
That's
the
roughly.
whole
I probably missed something, but that those for me would be the key ones. Yeah,
that's exciting, and it's I think a couple other points to pick out on is that the shoppable environment in CTV is so exciting because that creates such a big
yeah,
opportunity for brands, and we know, but we know the tech exists. I guess it's being able to for that to be done at scale. I'm sure is the challenge, but we know the tech's
yeah,
there for that to
and
happen.
and also consumers, right? It's a change in consumer behavior. Sometimes
Of
that also
course.
takes time. Like you can say, okay, we can do it with remote. We can put a QR code in it. Will people actually work with a QR on that? So there's a lot of testing being done also by us to see, okay, what works, what is possible on what platform, what is possible there. Our DSP, which is Dataseat, we really focus on these kind of channels, so in-app, but also CTV, on how to really look at different kind of signals that are fully privacy friendly. So not personal signals, but more cohorts and information, contextual information to really drive performance. And I think there's still a lot to learn as well as an industry together there.
Yeah, you mentioned privacy, and that's naturally been important. It's even more important with every passing year. How can brands tackle achieving performance and being privacy safe in today's world?
You're not asking me easy questions on a Monday morning, by the way.
Sure.
uh, No, I think there's a couple of things, right? It starts with that's not even brands, but there's stricter industry regulation and things that are happening overall, where platforms are looking more to make sure it's brand safe. And it's, I think specifically also now with AI, where there's a lot of I would say scary content or those kind of things as well. We have to be very clear around the environments and how we monitor them.
Hmm.
Um, I think interesting enough, my answer would probably be also a little bit different a few weeks ago versus now. I think with the US election and how certain platforms are changing their point of
Behaving,
view,
yeah.
I say that in a very, I hope, polite way, but it is worrisome. I think
Yes.
a year ago, and especially if we come from a Euro, and then again, I'm European, but we're very much around make it brand safe. We have to work with the platforms. There's legislation, all of that. But I think there's another counterpart right now still that is a little bit less focused on that. So I think we need to find a balance. But to go back to your point of what can brands do, of course, there's brand safety tools they can use. I think publishers now also very much focusing on making sure that they're on the good side, so they're not being blocked to a certain extent. The Brand Safety Institute also made that tool now for publishers, that they're aware of what kind of criteria they have to work with to make sure that goes well. So I think as an industry, we're doing a lot of good things, but also in the last few years, some large advertisers together voiced their concerns and also helped to push the industry, right? So I think also as an advertiser, you have the responsibility yourself, not just for your brand, but also as the industry, to make sure that it becomes a brand safe environment. So I talk a lot now, but I think it's legislation that will help, it's the technology that will help, and it's also brands themselves to a certain extent that have responsibilities, and publishers to make sure that we operate in a brand safe environment.
Yeah, and naturally AI creates a challenge because of how people can produce content with AI. Does it
Yeah,
also become part of the solution in terms of how AI can help to identify
yeah.
the issues?
It's
Is that is
it's
that
the
is
good
that
it's the good and the bad, right? You have
yeah.
the AI creating the content, you have AI recognizing the content, and I don't know. It's sometimes I feel old man, but it was funny. I had a conversation with my son about a year ago, and he was
Yeah.
close to his exams, and I said, "Listen, he had to write the thesis," and that's like, well, and he didn't have much time, so why don't you just use ChatGPT and adjust a little bit. And
Yeah.
he's like, no, I'm not. And it's like, why not? They said, well, two things. I don't learn by it. It's like, wow, that's a very nice answer. But second, they said, yeah, but a teacher already have tools that they use to actually check if it was written
Wow.
by AI. So even at schools, that's already like the two sides of the coin. So I think also in our industry, we have the two sides of the coin. There will be technology that is being used for the good to make
Mhm.
sure we get into a better world, that it's brand safe, that we know it's real. And yeah, what's real is still a question, of course, but we know that we can trust. And there will be people abusing it, and I think that's with every technology. So it's an interesting balance that we'll find as we see with many things, where hopefully there's a lot of good use of AI, where we use to make things brand safe, where we identify certain areas where we say this is not good, where we can filter things, but also how we use AI in the future for targeting or measurement. So as we move away from IDs, we have to find different ways for targeting. And I think AI gives great opportunities to build cohorts, to be fully privacy friendly, and actually still target groups of people that are relevant and come with relevant advertising. Same for measurement. So I'm the one that believes in the good of the AI for our industry, but I'm also very aware that we need AI for tools to block the bad.
Yeah, we had an event at our office. Just talking, we had an event at our office last February, and it was about AI, good or bad, was kind of the general premise. And it was a really
Yeah.
fascinating morning. I think most people ended up kind of. I think at the end you had like a red, green, or orange, like stick to hand up. Say, do you think bad is it going to be good, or is it be somewhere in between? I think you're just constantly. I mean, you're constantly kind of trying to figure it out,
What
trying to
what
figure it
what
out
or
still.
what was it? Orange? Was it the
It's
middle ground
been
or
I think people didn't want to sit on the fence so much. So I think in the end the moderator said go with one. I think mostly people saw the good because you want to see the good. And I
yeah,
believe I believe that humans tend to figure things out, and that's what I hold out hope for.
yeah, I think so.
And that's what I expect to happen. But yeah, I just wondered actually, it is so disruptive and it's happening so quickly. In your career in recent years, have you seen good use cases of AI where it's improving how people work or how people collaborate together or how campaign effectiveness? How much are you really seeing it
Hmm.
play an actual role in day to
Over the
day?
last few years, so I'll take also part of Group M with it. I think it started with us using AI for little things around. And again, you can say what's the definition here of AI, but there was more automation than AI, I
Automations,
would
yeah,
say.
yeah,
It started really with that. But then I think using it for instance on the media side for media planning, where a lot of the, I would say, previously media planning was more on lunching, and now it goes towards crunching, they say. But
yes.
basically using AI to really do a lot of the media planning work, at least based on historical data, and delivering really good results. So I think for planning we see it. I think for measurement, media mix modeling and how we do those kind of things, we see it. We saw it on creative. I think yeah, on multiple areas. So I think the creative component really goes fast. So personalization of ads, of ad formats, and doing things there within certain boundaries. Those were the first things. On our side, it's a lot around basically for targeting. We developed a solution called Atom, anonymous targeting on mobile, which
Okay.
basically builds the targeting profiles on the device. So it's 100% privacy friendly and privacy first. But what it does, it builds cohorts. So you basically look at all the signals of that behavior of that consumer, and you put those people in groups to really simplify it. And I think that's where you see AI really delivering value is a human wouldn't be able to go through that amount of data. But we now have the opportunity, if we have access to data, and which we have, I think, a lot in the advertising industry, looking at all those different signals, like real-time signals, but also looking at historical data and being able to really learn from that. And I think in the past, what was it, 50% of my advertising works, and I don't know which part. People still struggle who that quote was from. I always hear different people saying it was from Go Gilvey or that, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I think with where we're moving now is we're moving to a situation where technology will help us to do better targeting in a way that's privacy friendly, in a way that it actually can deliver value to consumers. And yes, I see the positive, but I do think with being able to target better and create content that's matching to that targeting and being able to measure in a way, again, that's not connected to IDs, but more on a new way and looking at those groups. I think it will really benefit the industry. And I've seen on all of those elements. So from creative, from targeting and measurement, we already see some really good examples there.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's really cool. The pace of change is so
It's
so
fast.
rapid.
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
So the next question actually asked, I'm picking up something you mentioned earlier. We spoke about CTV, we spoke about mobile, we spoke about digital out of home, digital audio, and one of the other
Yep.
big topics last year that we spent lots of time, listening to our customers talk about, was omni-channel. And so I just wondered,
Yeah.
how can agencies and brands effectively advertise across those channels in a connected way? I wasn't going to ask if AI has a role to play with that. That would be interesting to know too. But yeah, when you look at those channels that we spoke about in terms of where you might find your audience now and in the future, how do you think
Yeah.
we execute effectively in that omni-channel digital environment?
Yeah. Cool. There's multiple things. Again, if we go think about how do we do the targeting and how do we do measurement, let's just look at
Yeah,
those two things because those are sort of the critical ones, right? And I
yeah,
think if you look at the world in the last 20 years, if we thought about digital and we thought about targeting, it was cookie based, and based on that, with that identifier, we could do different things, and also cross channel. It was let's say it was a perceived reality. It wasn't as accurate as everyone always thought, but it was accepted as the truth at that time. Um,
yeah,
we're moving away from those IDs, so we're moving to idealists, and thereby what you're going to see is we use different data sets that we can stitch together towards cohorts, groups, and people that we can still probabilistically identify as the same people. So I think how we measure, we'll use AI and we use modeling and different things, but we also look at incrementality measurement and those kind of things as well, that we can actually do omni-channel and do the measurement still in a good way, but it will not be with the IDs as we're used to. So we'll let go of the IDs and we'll look at, again, incrementality measurement, MMN modeling, those kind of things that will help to still measure the impact of omni-channel. If we look at the targeting part, yeah, I have a very personal opinion about it, so I have to be careful now. And it's as I state that, but I think part of what you'll see is that some of the identifiers that we combine, I think one of them that's going to be very important is around location and location data and household data. But again, not to the person, but combining different data sets where a household or an ID towards a location, which you use for digital out of home, which you use for CTV, which you actually can use for mobile to a certain extent, although there are very much also limitations, of course, also helps. So I think from a targeting, we'll find new ways of defining targeting sets in cohorts and doing it in a privacy-friendly way that can be used across those channels, and we can stitch that together. Again, probabilistically, it will not be as accurate, I would say, as we used to or thought we used to do, because there was still a lot of flaws in there as well. But I think with that, we can still do omni-channel targeting based on the cohorts we defined and the group and the different data sets we brought together. So with that also comes challenges, by the way, because right now we don't have, for instance, standardization in exactly how we measure on CTV, digital out of home, the terminology we use. Different channels have still different components. So working together to I would say, consistent language and way of approaching those channels is something that we as an industry also need to do, because we have now still the tendency that every channel has their uniqueness, and with that comes their own unique challenges of stitching it together. So if we talk one around, I don't know, take digital out of home, you work in a different way with expected exposure. So one view is actually multiple views because that's how you do it. While on CTV, of course, you work again in a different way with households and devices. So with that, how do we merge that together, and how do we build that language around measurement, and how do we build targeting towards cohorts and bring data together, is still a challenge. So we can do, but I think there's a long way, but the coming year still a lot of work to be done to really be able to do consistent targeting and consistent measurement.
Yes. Is it also a people challenge because of how a lot of agencies would be set up within their teams, as in who buys TV, who buys out of home, who buys TV, who buys, is that it presents a
Yeah,
challenge.
yeah. Uh, Listen, agencies. I've been very long at agencies, so they will never say that that's a barrier. I think the barrier is not even just the agencies with different teams, where you still sometimes have a TV team and a
Yeah,
search team, all of that. Although that is changing, I think you do
we see
see
it.
very
And with,
much.
creative as well coming into that mix.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that really looking at client teams jointly working together, that's happening. But it starts with very simple things like what's the process and what is a client signing off. So, for instance, being able to optimize cross-channel is sometimes impossible because a client signs off a search budget, a social budget, and other things, and thereby it's fixed. So having a fluid IO, let's call it that,
Yeah.
is already a game changer for some agencies and some clients, because what they sign off goes signed off in a system, and in that system it's a financial system, and thereby there are some limitations there. So that's not even a human thing, that's a process
It's a
thing.
process
It's
thing.
not a
Yeah.
team. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, you're 100% right. There are some challenges within agencies, but also advertisers on how they organize themselves and how
Mm.
current processes are. And that's not just around the planning, but it's around the whole process of planning, approving, signing off, what's fixed and what's fluid. How do we optimize, and thereby how can we track certain things? So yeah, there's of course some of those challenges as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Final question, which is more about AI and productivity. So if marketers have when marketers are using AI more effectively, that's going to give them
yeah,
lots of time. So could a productivity gain be that marketers with a because of how AI will help people get to information faster and process large data sets faster, does that mean that a marketer has more capacity to look over more channels and bigger problems because they can be more productive because of the fact they're technology enabled? So it's a bit of a leading question, but just a thought in terms of
it's a
the
little bit of it. Uh,
the productivity gains that come with better technology.
I think there's a lot of conversations around what do people do with the time they gain of
Yeah.
automation, AI, all of that. I think it will be different by person, by company, of what is done with that. You could say so for instance, an agency would normally work 100 hours on a campaign, and now they only have to work 50 hours. What do they do with the other 50?
Mm.
Well, that would be nice if the client says, yes, please also use the other 50. Could be that they say, you know what, I only want to pay now for the 50 hours, and you still lack of time, but you just have to do it faster, right? So
Yes.
there's a cost efficiency on the other side. It's not always like we have more time, please use it for wisely. It's you can save me time, you can save me money, or use that money to actually become spend it more in media.
More media.
So,
Yeah.
so basically put the money we save into more media, and thereby we have better results. But that's more the agency client, I would say, conversation. For a marketeer, yes, I would hope that time saved would be used wisely. Um, and with that, also being able to have more time to do better analysis and together do that. But again, that's yeah, I'll be very careful with that because that's
Yes,
the ideal situation. Well, we have to see. I think hopefully we all become smarter through AI, and with that we deliver better campaign results. I think we will. The systems will already will. How we use that time, that's an interesting one. Will we use it to go deeper, or will we use it to do something totally different? I'm being careful with this statement on
it's
this
funny.
one.
I had this reason. I had this conversation with my COO on Thursday night over a beer, and he said, "No, people will just be able to do the same but work less." And I said, "Or just work the same but do more." But
Yeah. What is it going to be?
depends how you depends how you. Yeah, we will see. We'll have to come back on in 10 years' time.
Yeah. But I think the coming years, to be fair, you can say AI is doing a lot of work, but it's also still a lot of how good is it? And is it
Yes,
giving me the right results? Because
there's
I
a
think one
trust
of the
issue.
risks, even now, right? If you go into ChatGPT, ask a question, you get an answer, and sometimes you realize it's not correct. It's a
Mm,
beautiful answer, but it's seriously
make no
not
sense.
correct.
Yeah.
And I think there's the risk of this perceived, it looks good, so it is good,
Mm,
is also there. So I think the coming years, there will still be a lot of sanity checks, quality checks, and those kind of things. So it's not a direct, we trust AI and it's all perfect. I think it's yeah, human and machine working together, where there's still a lot of work to be done to optimize the data, because again, the machine is as good as the data it feeds. So how do we make sure there's no biased data? So that could be, for instance, part of the marketer's role as well, to basically make sure that the data that's being used by the AI is accurate, is complete, is all of that. So there, that's the thing, right? When new things, new roles, new jobs, new things will exist as well, and new skills are needed. So I don't think it's directly they'll use it for something they already did, but potentially there's new tasks coming which they never had and now have to do. And especially in the coming years, I do expect that there's still a lot of human intelligence and common sense to a certain extent needed to make sure that we really keep delivering the quality. So the potential is there, but we still have this yeah period of time that we need to work together, because the data is the challenge. I think, how do we know that it's accurate, it's not biased, all of those kind of things, that it actually gives us the real good results we want.
yeah, and that we can trust.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
now, just as final thoughts, it's what is it? It's March. I've already booked my tickets and flights and hotel and accommodation. So, can this year, what do you think is going to be the big conversation? What do you think is going to be on the agenda?
Hey, what's going to be the well, sort of what we discussed today, I would hope.
Yes, I would
So
suspect
it's
so.
it's around new channels. We didn't talk too much, for instance, today around retail media. Um, it is one of the other channels that, again, we didn't talk about today, but of course, there's huge growth. And
There
what's the
is.
scope of retail media? How does that also coming together, right? Like Walmart, where they bought the CTV kind of solutions and bring that together. So I think with that, the discussion would be towards what I said. The industry is changing from ID to idealist. With idealist, we have a lot of things to win in walled gardens, but also in those new channels. Uh, In-app, as mentioned, retail will be the CTV. AI will, of course, be one of the topics. Um, I don't know. I hope that we're really going to see some really nice combination of media and creative, and people and machine working together to get to the next level. Things that
Pushing.
you previous things that you previously think that wasn't possible, now with what we have is like the next level. So will we see the next level of cool, personalized, creative with creative ideas? Will we see that we reach people in different ways? And so I really feel that there in the creative industry, there's also so many new opportunities there. So I hope that's the combination again of human and machine delivering some next level full engagement with creative and the consumer.
Yeah, I agree. And let's wait and see.
Yeah, I'm going to be there. Let's see.
Me too. Thank you, Alex. Thanks so much, Jordan. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Life in Digital. If you want to know more about our guest or any of the topics that we covered today, you can find out more in our show notes and on our website.